Alright, so we are back once again with another X5 repair video. Today I'm going to be doing the CV axle. I'm replacing the entire thing because the boot ripped, but I don't know how long ago the boot ripped, so I don't want to repair the boot and then drive around with the damaged axle even though it is not clicking. This has 160,000 miles, and the dealership found out when I took it in for an airbag recall, so quick look at the ripped boot. As you can see there, flung all the grease out, so not good. And to do this, I'm gonna just describe it. I might time lapse the rest of it, but it's fairly simple as long as nothing is seized, which is my issue right now. So you take this guy off. There are these tabs right there that you can either hammer out with a screwdriver, but this has been on for so long that I couldn't get a screwdriver under, so I just took my big Milwaukee 1/2-inch impact and pulled it off. It just came right off. It is a 12-point socket, so rent your toolkit at your local auto parts store. This is from AutoZone because Advanced Auto did not have it in my specific case. So you do this off, and then basically you should take some type of punch, this or this guy, and whack the center of this face right there, and it should come out off the splines, and then the axle, you just pull it out from the other side. I am having the issue where the splines are rusted on, even though I whacked this with hammers, dead blows, and put some PB blaster in there. So I will be showing you the other method of doing it. Once you get to there, you have your inside CV joint, which you just pry off from the under panel, which I will show you later. And you do need to undo one of your control arms. So BMW recommends you undo your strut and then you have free play, but if you undo the lower control arm, I think this is called the tension rod, you also have free play per se. That. Okay, so now to what I am doing. I need to get this rotor and caliper off so I can put a 3-jaw puller around the hub and then drive the axle out. So let's get to it. We'll see how this goes. So that's how that looks like. I ended up using the big 7-ton one that I rented from AutoZone. Very glad I did, because the 5-ton one will not grab over the hub, because the hub actually has some type of like lip over it, as you can see. So you can't just grab the back of it, you gotta grab all the way around. So continuing on. So a little bit with the impact, as you can see, that thing is out of there. So when you put this stuff back in, definitely use some anti-seize on this, otherwise you're gonna go through this again. But given that this thing is so old, it's probably, this is the last axle that's ever gonna go on there. Found out another thing interesting. This cover, it actually is separate from the rear of the hub, but it was rusted on so much that it seemed to me that it was in one piece. But anyway, so you got this off. So a quick little update, and another reason why I hate working on this. The under panel had to come off because I couldn't get the right leverage on the CV axle on the diff side to get it. So basically, you come off, you have your sway bar bolt right there, and then one bolt here. And you do that on both sides, and then don't forget to take off your 2 10 mils for the splash panel, and then that big panel comes off, and then you have access to underneath. So you're looking at that thing right there. I split it just a little bit I don't know how well you're gonna see that because it's really up close, but I split it a little bit, and I'm just gonna keep on like prying on this little flange until it splits out completely. But there's the other end of it. So once that comes out, then you're pretty much home free and you're starting to put everything back together. So here we have it. What worked was pry bar and a hammer, and I just hammered onto one of these flanges. Let's see if we can get some weight on it. So hit on one of those like points, and then it just basically popped out. So there's my bad boot, 160,000 miles on this axle. So I decided, instead of buying the boot kit for about 40 bucks, a brand new, well, it's a reman, it's a reman axle, but we'll show it once we get everything else buttoned back on. I'm gonna see what it takes, but yeah, it is messy underneath here because it's an old BMW, so everything leaks. But it's a reman cardon axle, or cardone axle. So let's put this thing back together. Okay, so that's in. Tips: turn your wheel left all the way, so basically your tie rod is all the way fully extended. Then with this tension rod loosened, you can pull it out, and that gives you a lot of room to slide that axle in. It takes a little bit to think about it, but that's how I got it to work. Now it's just getting the axle in all the way, getting the CV into the diff all the way, and then tightening everything, torquing everything at ride height, and then you are good to go. Everything is back in. Gave a couple things I realized. Once I got like this axle in far enough where I could thread the axle nut on a couple times, I would take the impact and just pull it in all the way. It was still pretty tight, not like any Chevy I've ever worked on. Next is trying to get that thing in there. You can see the ridges right there, and basically I would take one of my longer pry bars, this is I think 24 inches, just hook this point onto it and then just whack it in. And this is after you know you have some engagement, but not all the way. Again, no gap in the back. You can't really see that because it's too far back there. But there you go. Now all I gotta do is put the brakes back on, and then I'm gonna give this a couple more ugga-uggas once it's on the ground before I lock in the axle nut, because this asks for 310 foot-pounds and I do not have a torque wrench that goes up that high. So we're gonna do that, and then axle is all good to go. Oh, don't forget, torque your tension rod when it's level, but I do not know my torques for that yet, so I gotta search it up. But there you have it, CV axle for a BMW X5.